This is how to remove the Quicksilver Commander 3000 from my 1995 Ranger. So I'm assuming that it's either a 95 or a 94 model. I actually did buy the boat in 94. So I didn't see any for this particular type of Commander. The other 3000s that I've seen, they're different. They have a different connection. So this says it's a, I think it said it's a flush mount or a wall mount, and it's on the starboard side. So anyway, I just thought I'd include a little video on how to take this off. Couldn't find anything on this particular model. There's some later models that have some videos on there. None of them had anything about disassembling the handle, and that's where the wiring for the trim switch is. Unfortunately, I am afraid to go down to look at the kill switch because, and you'll see in a few minutes, the wonderful people at Ranger strip the screws when they put the installation up against the wall here. So we'll see that. But the first step is that you need to have this in the idle position before you can remove this, the push button here. So it won't come out if you don't have it in this position. So you have to squeeze your trigger, slide your handle forward just like you're going to idle it, and then you can use a, you can use a screwdriver to pry this little peg out. It just pops out. As you can see, it's just got a small round retainer on the end there. Anyway, that comes out. Once that is out, on the inside there is a bolt, brass bolt that is inside, and that needs to come out. And that is a 17 millimeter or 11/16 socket to take that out. That bolt, that brass bolt, holds this on the inside. So, and I'm not sure about what the leverage is here, why you would have to have this at an angle, but the book I have says that you cannot take this out unless it is in the idling position. So anyway, this pops out pretty easily. And you take this bolt out, and this bolt, when it goes back in, you have to put on Loctite, permanent Loctite 242, and it has to be torqued to 150 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, 150 inch-pounds. And there's a strong warning inside my manual about this that says that if this is not properly installed, you could lose full control of your gear shift while you're operating, and that could be very dangerous. Once you get the bolt out, then this piece comes out pretty easy. You've got one ring. Oop, where's the ring? Oh, here it is. This is like a dry lubricating type thing. It is keyed. It has a keyway on there, right there. And that goes in, when you put it back together, it goes into, there's an opening here, and that key will go in that opening there. Like that. All right. And to take this apart, there is one screw that comes out here. Take that screw out, and then the part that was hard for me to find was on the back of this thing. There is this little, it's like a little notch. I don't know how else to describe it, and I don't have it completed in there because I wanted to be able to show you how to take it apart. But for me, what I had to do was to go in around these wires, and you have to put in a small flat tip at the edge of that and pry those two pieces apart. Anyway, they will come apart, and once you get it apart, you can see there's a little tick, that little thing right down in there. Now, there you can see it. It's just that little nub right there, and it's not at all flexible. So you have to kind of very carefully bend that piece. The little right thing right there is the part that we're talking about. And you have to insert this screwdriver on the inside and kind of pry around a little bit, and that will come out. When it comes out, this will come apart. This outer shell is plastic, but the inner shell is steel. So this is the plastic part, and then this is the steel part in here. And then you can see where the movement is. And there is a spring that goes in the top here. It goes in that hole. That's the spring. So it would go in there. And then that's the part that goes on that little doodad right there. That's where the top of that spring goes to hold that. This is the trim button, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. I was looking for some like shorted wires or maybe some pinched wires, but I couldn't find any. And that's all that these are. This is the 3 wires that come out of there. Oh, if you want, let's see if I can do this with one hand. This piece is on that, comes off pretty easy. And then you can just separate them a little bit. There, to get them around the wires. There is a little catch. I started to take it apart, but you don't really need to. It's just a swivel thing on there to kind of hold them together as one piece if you really need to, but you can open this up enough to get the wiring through there, and that's all that is there. And then this, it just goes back the same way. What I was trying to show you earlier is wonderful Ranger. You can see how they strip these screws on here. I don't want to get involved with that. The problem I'm having, I don't think, is has anything to do with this kill switch on here. I don't think I've got other issues, but I hate electrical problems. Anyway, I guess if I wanted to get to the back of this, there's nuts that go on the back of these bolts. I don't know what the screws go into, but I would have to take out the live well controls here for front and back. This particular boat has a front live well as well. But I would have to take these out so I could get to the back of that to hold those screws. I would assume that's how they got this thing assembled. Anyway, that's pretty much it. And then reverse is the same way. You put this piece back on, and then you reassemble your handle here and put the screw back in that. Don't forget the spring that goes in at the top up here. And then that whole unit gets put back on here. Like I said, don't forget that this is keyed. So you got a little keyway here, and there's a little key here. So that goes in there. And then you put the entire unit back inside. And then you would put your bolt back on. Well, I'm sorry. You put your screw back on to hold these two halves together. That's the screw that goes in here. So you would put that in, and put these two halves back together. Insert it back into the unit here, and then let's see. You have to torque it. That's the I'm using a that's one there. This is my 11/16, which is the same thing as 17 millimeter. And you put that on. Well, you put your 242 Loctite, permanent Loctite on there, and then you torque it down to 150 inch-pounds, and then you put the little plastic piece. I'm losing parts here. And that piece just pops back in there, and you can see that that's where the piece goes back inside of that the gear that's on there. And and that's why that brass nut is and it's here it is. That's why it's hollow, because the that plastic piece goes through there and into that piece back there. which is probably why you have to have it in neutral. I'm sorry, in idle and not neutral. It says it won't come out in neutral. Anyway, I just wanted to document that in case anybody else was having the problem I had. I've already fought this battle. There's a little keyway here. Don't want to forget that. That's where that part here goes. A little keyway on there. That slides in there like that. Now I have not done this yet, so I don't know about alignment as far as forward, neutral, reverse, but when I took it out, it was slightly forward like this. And once you push it on, you'll see that it slides on fairly easily. Before you tighten down the bolts, you want to make sure that you've got the gear shift and throttle in the correct position. Since you've taken the bolt off and removed it from the shaft on the control unit, it may not be aligned properly. When you do take this off, remember that you had to have had this thing in the neutral, I'm sorry, not in the neutral position. You had to have it in the idle position, which means that you had to push the idle button here and move the gear shift forward. When I was getting ready to put it back on again, I slipped the handle back on here in what I thought would be the proper position, and then I went to the propeller and tried to turn the propeller. And if it turns, that means you are in fact in neutral. If you move the gear shift into the forward position, and that's about the position where it was when we took it off, and you come back here to the propeller, you'll hear it ratchet in one direction and solid in the other. So that means you're in forward. All right, and then we'll go back and put it in reverse. And we'll come back here and turn the propeller. Locked and locked. So in reverse, it's in full lock. Okay, that should be it. That's about all the information I have. So, as always, if you have any questions, be sure and post them here, and I'll try to get an answer to you. Thanks very much.